Hi everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Sheila Mohan. I'm the author of an upcoming book, I Complete Me, which is a book that shows you how to practice self love. I'm also a Master Spirit life coach and trainer and an NLPK practitioner. I practice various modalities for transformation like access bars, EFT, energy healing, back flow therapy, to name a few.
Hi, I'm Amit Kapoor. I'm an MBIT coach and I'm an Access Bars facilitator. I'm also an NLP practitioner and have been facilitating various people for personal transformation across the globe. We created Possibilities Galore, a platform with a common vision to empower people in the areas of personal development and spirituality. So, along with various seminars and trainings that we independently do, we are the first ones to launch workshops over WhatsApp, and our popular 21-day WhatsApp programs like Relationship Matters, Zero Complaints Challenge, and Money Matters have been running successfully every month, creating massive shifts in our committed participants. We recognize that every individual has a story to tell and an inspiration to be. So, as life coaches, Sheila and I take our learnings very seriously, and we know by experience that what has worked for our clients and what triggers them to change. So, we'd like to warmly welcome you onto this webinar. Thank you for joining us. I see that some more people are joining in right now in our webinar. So, thank you, Rajeshwar, to join this webinar. Thank you, Sanjeev. Uh, okay, so we see some more people joining in. Great. We're very happy that you've chosen to join this webinar. It's a lovely name. It's all about moving on. It's about creating personal change in your life. And this is specifically to do with excuses and complaints.
Yes. And in our experience of working with so many people over various courses, we realize that the biggest issue that most people have is that there is a lot of positive intention, but zero action, right? And the word that we hear most frequently is but. And we are here to kick the butt. In this webinar, moving from excuses and complaints, Amit and I are going to help you cut the crap, shut the nonsense, and flip all the old patterns that have been built around in your lives. Mind you, this is not a place for casual conversation. It's not about whining about how difficult life is. This is definitely not a show to mollycoddle you, handle you with velvet gloves, and tell you it's all okay. No, we are here with one intention, and that is to shake you, to stir you up, and make you completely, completely uncomfortable.
Spoiler alert! So, what is it that you can expect from this webinar? Well, some hard hitting facts. And for most of you, it might just be in your face. Have you noticed how easy and convenient it is to blame everyone and everybody for everything that's gone wrong with your life? And how often you stay in places where you are unhappy and yet don't take any steps for change? Ironically, you create a comfort zone around your own miseries. Most of you are waking up every day looking for drama.
True.
Now, drama is something that you craft around stories of unemployment, stories of being broke, struggles that you put up with your relationship, your health, your spouse, and the list goes on. Now, these stories are not just stories, they are built through excuses and can actually fill up a book. If it was not the dysfunctional family you grew up in, it is the economy, the government, and just plain bad luck. And of course, who cannot remember that when you get to hear words like well, the stars are not in alignment in my life right now. It's not the right time for me, and all these things that are stopping us from being what you can be. So here's the question:
Yes.
what are your reasons?
So, how many people do you know who have been holding on to the person they've broken up with, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, and are still sad and miserable. How many people do you know who've been holding on to the dreams that are way past their sell by date? And I'm sure you definitely know someone who is almost decaying by staying in the same job year after year because they feel there's no other choice. And what about you? How many times have you decided to start something new? And then the first thing the mind brings up is, what are the reasons that you cannot do so?
Yeah.
Let's take something as simple as fitness, right? We've decided that we want to be fit, but the gym is too far, the timings are not convenient, we have to rush to office, the dog has to be fed, and what about traffic, right? Do you expect your life, career to be any different by dealing with the same things, the same people, and the same situations? Yes. Now, one of my mentors have always taught me that if you do the things that you've always done, you will get the results that you've always got.
So true.
Yes. So stop complaining about being out of shape when you never go to the gym. Stop looking and cribbing about your job when you're not willing to step up and step out. And stop making excuses if you're settling for an unhappy relationship. You know what? The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Wow, isn't that beautiful?
Yes, let me repeat that. This is one
Yes,
of my
please.
favorite statements.
Yes, yes.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything. And that is the most scariest line that I've ever heard in my life. Right?
Yes, it is. Look at the patterns in every area that you're operating today, and you know
Yes.
it's true for you.
And see, you don't need more people to feel sorry for you. You already feel sorry for yourself. And that, my friend, is the problem. You've tricked your mind to turn every positive story you hear into something negative.
Our message here is not to tear you down and contribute to your negativity.
Yes.
That's definitely not the purpose. Our intention is to say, enough is enough. It's all in the mind. It's time you get out of this pity party. Look at one area of your life. And now here's the time to be totally honest with yourself. What do you aspire for? Maybe you should think about, what are you struggling against? And what is it that you haven't achieved yet? I mean, you always have this yearning and this effort towards things, but you haven't achieved yet. Now let's face it. You're probably in a trap. You got every excuse in the world, and that's why nothing changes.
And I'm sorry, Amit, but I have to say it here. Nothing will change because you have convinced yourself that everything is wrong and that everything is negative, and nothing will change.
Yeah, the kind of conclusions we make.
Yes.
And the excuses we have in place, even before we make attempt to get out of that kind of a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that brings up to one of the success stories we have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a success story to quote from our 21-day Zero Complaints Challenge workshop.
Which one are you talking about? We had
yeah. So remember the one, let's call this person Kevin.
Ah, yes, right.
Remember the one that we call them Kevin? So we have a code word. Now, we definitely do not like to reveal our participant's name, obviously, for our commitment to them. But definitely, this person is coming. This is an inspirational story. It's a story that is a testimony to how transformations happen, how personal core transformations happen. So the story is, Kevin has been stuck in an unhappy job. Either the pay is not good, or the boss is being a difficult person, or the co-workers are quite a pain in the, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I remember him, always complaining about how his job sucked, but not wanting to do really anything about it. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, this person, if we really tried to intervene and try to get into, help this person, but we noticed that for the huge dream that he had, he really wanted to step out. He really wanted to step up into a place where he's independent, where he starts his own business venture. And he had a lot of thoughts and ideas as well. Now, each time he took one step ahead, he would actually retreat 5 steps back. Now, why was that happening? Because there's a set of pattern in which he was operating from.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we asked him that what stops you, uh, we had excuses, a list of excuses.
Well, he didn't think they were excuses. He thought they were valid reasons, right?
Oh yes.
I remember that he had this big fear that if he stepped out of his job and got into a business, he would not be making enough money to support his family.
Yeah.
And that is valid as far as he was concerned, and it is valid for a lot of us. But at the end of the day, yes, you're right. It was an excuse because there was a lot of fear which was stopping him.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things are valid, but the point is there's also a thin line difference between how many of those situations, the stories that you say are really true for you, or actually you're making excuses and justifications to kind of stay there and not move on.
Yes.
But Kevin, if you're watching this video, you know who you are. We're just covering up the name, but we truly look up to you. I think we would say that you are one of our really coaches where we worked on one-on-one situation in this after this zero complaints challenge. And there's one thing that we take away whenever we talk about your story.
Yes.
And we'd love to write more about you and speak to more people about what you do. But then I remember the lesson that you had quoted at the end of the 21 days in terms of how this 21-day workshop has benefited you. And this is what you had mentioned to us. You said, if it's ever going to be, it's up to me.
Yes.
And it's incredible. And that's totally something that we really look up to you for saying that, because if people can get that kind of awareness that life is in your hands, that you can change any situation that you wish to, and that is where your awareness, like we say, awareness is the step to change, and action changes things. So just like we say that action changes things, Kevin took actions. Kevin, long story short, he broke the barriers. He moved on from his chronic pull of excuses, and finally took a step, and the rest is history. So Kevin, congratulations. We've just heard that you started a new venture and you have best wishes from us. So the point is, if nothing around you changes, change the things around you.
Nice. And actually, it's true because, see, life is all about movement, right? And everything grows from the smallest blade of grass to the huge oak tree. Everything grows. Our inherent nature is to grow into the next level. And anything that stops that growth is against this law of nature. Excuses, justifications, denials, complaints, they do just that. They keep us stuck where we are.
Yeah, and it's time you consider moving on, people. Because, excuses sound the best to people who are actually making them up.
Yes.
So we all have been there and we've always done that. It's time to change. So you know what happens when we keep having these excuses regularly? We pick up a pattern. It becomes a repetitive, it becomes the same old record-breaking technique where you keep going on and on and on about the same thing, and we don't realize it actually changes your habit. People who are complaining, people who are actually having excuses, never realize that they are actually doing so.
Yes.
And these tough habits die hard. So the only way you can actually change these habits is to replace them with something new, like replace a new habit.
Yes.
So have you noticed when people often have justifications, sometimes you kind of confront somebody and you say, hey, why are you complaining about it? Why do you have an excuse? And they say, no, I'm just expressing my views. I'm just giving my opinion. What's wrong with that? But you know what? What's wrong with that? Complaining actually keeps you focused on what's not working for you.
Yes.
And here's another one. What you focus on grows.
You notice that we love our quotes, right?
So if what you focus on grows, remember it also keeps you stuck in negativity, anger, blame, and you become this living, breathing crap magnets. There's no area in your life that remains unaffected when you're in this vicious circle. Be it your money situation, your health, your relationships, it affects them all. One way of ensuring that things don't change is to continuously complain in your life.
Yes, that's true. And because we don't realize that complaining is affecting all these, we continue doing it. Now, I read a book recently by Will Bowen called Complaint Free World. And now Will has a very interesting acronym for complain called, what complain
Gripe. Is that the one?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the gripe, GRIPE, right?
Yep.
Now, Will says the G stands for get attention, R stands for remove responsibility, I stands for inspire envy, P stands for power, and E, excuse poor performance. So when you start beginning to gripe, look at these 5 letters and ask yourself, am I doing this to get attention? What can I do to turn this positive into negative? Think about it. Most of the time when we're complaining about our jobs, our money situation, our relationships, it's a cry for attention.
Yeah.
So just ask yourself, what can I do to turn this attention to something positive? Because remember, what you focus on grows. And sometimes we do it because we're trying to remove the responsibility by blaming other people for our faults or our circumstances, our lack of effort. Have a relationship problem? It's not mine. It's his problem, his fault or her fault.
A lot of blame games.
Lot of blame games. Another reason why we might be doing it is to actually inspire envy. This is where we unconsciously brag about ourselves in an effort to make ourselves feel better. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you're getting a lot of friend requests on FB, and you say something like, oh my God, I have got 45 pending friend requests.
Oh yeah, I'm so busy.
Yes, that's a subtext. Yes, look at me, I'm so busy, Or you say, oh my God, so many people send me private messages. What's the subtext?
Well, I'm so desirable.
Yes. And this comes because of a masked inferiority complex or inadequacy that we have about ourselves. And therefore, there is this need to justify. Sometimes we also complain to set ourselves for being more powerful, right? This is where gossiping comes in. And make no mistake, men complain as much as women. Both of us, both the genders are guilty of gossiping. And when we gossip, we are complaining. Surprised, isn't it? Because we are belittling another person.
Yes.
So another subtext here is that I'm not like that. I don't have that particular flaw. So what you need to do is, when you're gossiping, you're actually talking behind some other person's back, and that is gossip. That is a complaint. So what you need to do is talk to the person concerned, speak directly to that person, and then you can create a space for communication and openness.
Also, I think you're basically confronting somebody. If you're having a problem with somebody, if your mind tends to get into this complaining mode, where you realize that they become only a topic of gossip between you and your friends,
Yes.
and eventually that's leading into a habit, you might as well go and speak up with them and say, okay,
Yes.
listen, this is exactly what I'm feeling about it. What's the matter with you?
Yes. And this is what is known as tough conversation. And let me tell you, this works. This works. It's difficult. It's not easy. But you can just go to that person and say something like, you probably don't realize, but this is how you make me feel, or this is what you do. Right?
Yeah.
And this last one, E, this is my personal favorite. We complain to excuse poor performance. So we complain about the circumstances after the fact to explain why we failed. People have excuses for everything, from being late to missing appointments. Excuses are everywhere. Yes.
So there you have it, the list of 5 stages, 5 various ways that you're actually getting into this complaining mindset, the mindset full of excuses. So what do you think about Will's 5 main reasons that he's listed them out in complaining? I think we totally
Yes.
totally relate with it when we're interacting with people. We get to interact with people with fitting into any one of these categories for sure. So, if there was an opportunity for you to go for 21 days without complaining, can you imagine what your life is going to be? In fact, they say that if you can go complain free for 24 hours, you create a lot of peace in your mind. You
Yes.
get out of all the filth, all the dirt, all the crap that you're carrying along because you always are thinking about something else.
It's a little difficult, no?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No?
That's why it's a challenge.
Yes.
That's why it's a challenge.
Yes.
So you know what we told you about being a habit.
Yes. And actually, habits are deeply ingrained, learned responses that become, automatic. So look at it this way. Every time you start something new, there are new neural pathways which are being formed in your brain, right? And as you continue doing this habit over and over again, this small pathway that you have in your brain becomes a highway. And it's much more easier to go down a highway, right? It's so much more easier driving down an expressway which is smooth and well built. And that's what happens when you start complaining. Every time you complain, the neural pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So let's look at what happens when you're trying to replace it with another habit. Now, when you replace it with another habit, there is a new neural pathway which has been formed. Now, this is a small one, and until you actually start using it regularly, the small one does not replace the earlier road. So, until that time, there are chances that you'll slip back, which is why they say that building a new neural pathway takes about 21 days, after which it becomes automatic. Right? It's easier to go back to old roads because you've known it for such a long time. It's safe, and more than anything else, it's comfortable. So that is why we have the zero complaints challenge, which is for 21 days. Now, before you think of all the reasons why you can't do it, let me tell you, it's on WhatsApp.
So if this is your excuse, let's drop it.
You can do it at your own convenience.
And if you say time is a constraint, let's drop it.
It's lesser than the cost of your daily Starbucks coffee.
Seriously, is money your excuse?
And you will have the benefit of group support. So accountability will not be an issue. We'll ensure that you keep back from slipping away, and we'll keep at it for the next 21 days. So you will not slip up. So all you have to do is, at the end of this webinar, there will be a link available which will allow you to sign up for the next batch. It's time you took charge, guys.
In fact, for every level, there's another devil.
What's that? Repeat it.
Well, for every level, there is another devil. So each time you're trying to, you're trying to challenge yourself, you overcome that. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, either ways, you're right. I'm sure you've heard this before.
Yes.
But isn't that so true? So now, before we end this webinar, we would like to actually leave you with some thoughts to reflect upon, some questions to ponder. It's been said since times immemorial that when you look for a possibility, you find it.
Yes.
And when you stay in the puddle, all that you can see is muddy waters. We believe that possibilities are open for everyone to stand up and to be the change that they wish for. So what do you wish for?
And one of the tools that we use very successfully is a set of questions that move you from a state of no choice into a world of possibilities. Now, why questions? because questions empower us. They allow our consciousness to go beyond and seek answers. They say that there is never one answer to a question, there is always more. And there's never one solution to a problem, there's always another one. It's because we are thinking with our limited mindset that we cannot find those answers,
Yeah.
which is why one of the modalities that we use is to stay in the question and allow the answers to float in. This opens you up to, let's say, 10 million answers. Now, that's why why we have these 21 days of magical tools. Each day for 21 days, there is a way to move on confidently in the direction that you want to go. So here's what you have to do. Amit, would you like to take them through
Oh,
the
yes,
questions?
definitely. So this is what we want you to do. We want you to just be prepared for this. Okay, this is a bit of exercise we're doing on this live webinar for the first time, and whether you're watching it in a replay or whether you're watching later, you just be prepared right now. We just want you to be comfortable. Now, slowly drop your barriers. I know there are barriers, there are resistances, there are emotional states. You probably are questioning everything that you may have heard today. But still, we suggest drop your barriers, drop your emotional states. Happiness, your sadness, your feeling lonely, whatever is your emotional state, just drop it. We want you to be in the moment. We want you to drop the reasons, the resistances, and all the points of view to where you are and receive the energy of these questions. So when it comes to the idea of getting attention, I want you to think about it. That my voice is basically your inner voice that you hear. So what is the value of getting attention by being a complaint monger? Remember, this is not a question to ask somebody. It's about pondering about yourself. It's about asking yourself about this situation. And what is the value of being tagged as a fault finder? And that's how we see most of the people complaining. So now, again, I'm sure each of these questions are bringing up a bit of awareness of how you're operating in your life. So let's move on with more questions. What stupidity am I choosing to be noticed as the judgmental freak I'm being? Yeah, judgmental freak. And what awareness am I unwilling to be, do, and have? Which, if I did, will change my reality. And what changed for me in my struggle story, in my pain story, in my complaint story, and all of that will actually end, and what and everything, all the changes that will bring in, if only I own up and take charge. And how is it helping me anyway by running away? If it's anything to got to do with running away or to move on from, could it be the list of excuses and complaints that I voice out? Yeah, I hope you are pondering on each of these questions very deeply. And what have I made so vital and significant about proving my rightness about complaining? Who am I justifying with a set of conditions of not being right? Yeah, you hear that phrase very frequently. People having excuses, people having complaints. They just say, you know what, that's just not right. And they have a justification attached to it as well. So would you stop doing that, please? And if it's going to be any different, any better, isn't it going to be upon me?
How are my judgments contributing to my peace of mind? That's the next question that you need to ask.
Yeah.
Am I making myself bigger than my problems, or am I making my problems bigger than me? What inspiration can I be for me in my life?
What would change if I get committed, guys? This is the feeling. This is the question that you have to ask yourself. Am I willing to set a good example for me in my own eyes? Remember your self-talk. Most of it is coming. All your confidence or all your underconfidence is all coming from your self-talk. So each of these questions will only make you ponder about being a good example for yourself in your own eyes. And most importantly, if it's not now, when? And if it's not you, who?
This actually brings me to the thing that we tell most of our coaches, Amit, is that there is a difference between being interested and being committed.
Yes.
If you're interested in making the change, you will do it whenever it's convenient. But if you're really committed to doing whatever change you want to make in your life, you will do it no matter what.
Yes.
And with that, we hope we have triggered you enough to make you realize that your life is in your hands. You may have always known it, but here we are asking you to actually take action because the future is here for you to create it yourself.
And the responsibility lies with you.
Yes. We really look forward to interacting with you soon. We have a next Moving On series coming up soon as well. And those who are interested in signing up for our upcoming Zero Complaints Challenge, you know what to do. You can go down, sign up. There are numbers are there. You can actually get connected with us.
So remember, if you've always been doing the things that you did, is the result going to be any different? No. So no matter what and whatever it takes, whenever you choose to get into the zone of no excuses and zero complaints, you become your object of your inspiration.
Wow. Yes, and that's when you actually own yourself inside out and you emerge into a new empowered version of you. And we love this fact that we all have this beautiful version which is hidden inside of us, which we don't even realize. You know, it's a cliche, but a caterpillar doesn't know that it has the power to become a butterfly, right?
Wow.
So take charge, people. Get committed and see you soon on the next webinar.
Yes. See you soon. And thank you so much for joining this webinar. I'm hoping that these conversations that we keep having with you trigger you to think, also help you to focus on how you can make your life better and improve and take charge in your life. So until we talk to you in our next webinar, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.